in Dallas, Texas, whose membership in the UCC was just affirmed by the North Texas Association last week. Reverend Joe Hudson, how does it feel to be officially UCC?
Great, Paul. We are so excited to be a part of this dynamic and growing denomination with a history of so many firsts, and just in time to help celebrate the 50th anniversary. Joining me are representatives from our Board of Directors, Communications Council, and staff of the Cathedral of Hope, their spouses and partners, including 2 members of our church, James Stevens and Charles Waltrip, who recently celebrated their 50th anniversary. Thank you for welcoming us into the United Church of Christ with open arms.
Thank you. We'll be hearing more from our remote sites a little later in our webcast. Planning committee?
Yes, I have. We've been brainstorming and planning for 2 years. It's been an exciting process. To tell you more, we've invited the chair of the 50th Anniversary Planning Committee to share with you what's in store for this coming year. Please welcome Bob Witham.
Thanks, Megan. The 50th Anniversary Planning Committee is made up of UCC members from across the country. We have been in a great year-long plan to help you and your churches celebrate this anniversary year. In just a few weeks, every church will receive their complimentary copy of this UCC at 50 commemorative publication. The artwork and the graphics in that are stunning. The 49 articles written by leaders from across the church take a look back at the significant moments in our past 5 decades. They acknowledge who we are as a church now entering the 21st century, and outline the hopes and the dreams and the challenges for the future. Edited by Martin Bailey and M. Golder, you'll want to use it for your membership classes, for your confirmation groups, for your entire congregation. You can order additional copies by going to ucc.org and finding the link under 50th Anniversary Resources. The UCC at 50, and it makes a wonderful Christmas gift.
Thank you, Bob. Another forthcoming resource is a DVD that takes a creative look back over 50 years. And here is the host of that production, Hans Holznagel.
Peace and love, groovy man, what's happening? Well, the 60s are long gone, but the United Church of Christ has had a significant impact on the world in each of the past 5 decades. So we decided to bring our historical timeline to life. Take a peek at this brief trailer from UCC at 50, History and Hope.
I'm Hans, the UCC answer guy. I'll be your host for the next few minutes as we travel through the wonders of communication technology along this timeline. Come on.
The 1970s, Richard Nixon, Kent State, Ali, Cosell, Saturday Night Live, Billie Jean King, Rocky, The World According to Garp. Women and people of color gain a new sense of identity. In the UCC, it's more than just symbolic. United Black Christians, the Task Force on Women in Church and Society, the Council for American Indian Ministry, Pacific Islander and Asian American Ministries, the Council for Hispanic Ministries. In 1973, General Synod suspends business and sends a plane load of delegates to the Coachella Valley to demonstrate with Cesar Chavez and striking farm workers. We're far from perfect, but at our best, we strive to be a church that is God's mosaic and stands with people of color in their struggle for justice and human dignity. Well, I don't know if you can believe that was me, but it was a... But it was a lot of fun immersing myself into the past 5 decades. This video will be available after the first of the year as part of a comprehensive production. More on that later. Right now, I want to share a confession with you of sorts. If you can't imagine it, I'm turning 50. Yes, I was born in 1957, the year that the United Church of Christ came into being right here in Cleveland. I wasn't born in Cleveland, but the church was. Obviously, it wasn't, I wasn't at the initial gathering, but we're fortunate to have someone with us who was not only there, but photographed the historical handshake that bound us together in covenant as the United Church of Christ. George Conklin. Welcome, George. And what was it like? What was it like to be at the Uniting General Synod as a young reporter in 1957?
Oh, Hans, I'm glad to be here in Cleveland again and remember that first synod in 1957. I had just graduated from seminary and was a somewhat wide-eyed journalist volunteer. I was in the unique situation later of being the only member of the UCC to actually witness both votes to form the United Church. First at the 1956 the 1956 Omaha meeting of the General Council of the Congregational Christian Churches, and then at the Evangelical and Reform meeting in Lancaster that fall. Dr. Everett Parker, director of our Office of Communication, asked me to volunteer at all those meetings. There were fraternal delegations at the 2 voting meetings, but they withdrew as a matter of courtesy, and Dr. Parker said, "Your face is new here. People won't know that you're a Congregationalist. You stay in the hall, take notes, and take photographs." They were spirit-filled gatherings, and at the conclusion of each one, they sang, "Blessed be the tie that binds."
I understand that you still have the camera you used to take the historic handshake photograph.
Oh, I love to collect antiques. It's called a 4x5 speed graphic, and at that time it was the professional camera. I used it again at several following synods and conferences. The camera was left behind when the UCC offices moved to Cleveland, and I asked for it to add to my collection, and it still works.
That's great. United and uniting is the phrase that bears the mark of our historical legacy. How did our founders experience Christian unity here at that first gathering in Cleveland?
Well, they did it symbolically and they did it practically. The image is still strong in my mind. Here in Cleveland, lines of ministers and clergy walked down 2 separate streets, and they met at a corner, progressed as a single group into the music hall together. Practically, during that same meeting, there are a number of smaller committee and other meetings. That's when we really got to know each other. It took a lot of work and a lot of prayer to form that infant United Church of Christ.
Thanks for being with us today, George, and for the significant ministry you've shared during these past 50 years. And I also want to recognize someone else in the room who was here at the 1957 General Synod. Franny Millward is with us from the local Western Reserve Association. Why don't you rise so you can be recognized, Franny?
Thanks, Hans. Now it's time to view another YouTube segment. This one is a historical review from the Church of Christ Congregational United Church of Christ in New